What's the best advice a woman in your life has ever given you?
You know, one of the best pieces of advice was during the beginning of my daughter's journey, where she was still a teenager, still living at home, out of control. I didn't know what to do with her. This woman at our church, she had gone through some ups and downs with her daughter prior. And she told me, she said, look at your daughter as your best friend's daughter, someone you love, but it takes the emotion out of it.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah,
think that,
I've never forgotten that.
yeah, uh, that's such an interesting way to think about it because, yeah, a lot of times that we let our emotions get in the way of everything instead of trying to be a little bit more practical about stuff. And
Right.
that outsider view, I think, is always really important.
And our kids don't want us to be so emotional about everything because then we're making it about us.
Mm.
And I hate to say it, but a lot of kids nowadays are pretty entitled and they're selfish. There's a lot of selfishness going on. For some of them, it's because they literally didn't feel heard, but for some of them, it's just selfishness, right?
Mm-hmm. Welcome to Her Unshakeable Confidence. I'm Simone Knego.
And I'm Olivia Knego.
And today we have a very special guest, Sally Harris. So I've known Sally for a bit now, and she does amazing work. So let me tell you a little bit about her. So she is the host of the Sally Harris YouTube channel, which has amassed 2.7 million views with over 36,000 subscribers. Definitely want some advice on that. She's an international speaker and advocate in the realm of family dynamics, estrangement, self-care, and personal responsibility. I really want to talk about obviously the estrangement piece, but I just saw. So she has recently been contacted by the ABC Tamron Hall show, as well as the Dr. Phil show, as an estrangement expert. Did not know that, so I want to break that one down. She's worked with over 1,000 mothers dealing with estranged adult children and is on a mission to serve 1 million moms. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This is just like a comfortable conversation with you guys. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with your story because I really want to understand how you got into the work that you do. I know that recently you did step away from your corporate job, so congratulations on that.
Yes, that's awesome.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your story and how you started working with moms of estranged adult children. Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay.
You
Okay,
did.
good.
You know, as a good mentor of ours always says, like, you serve the person that you once were. And that's really how it all happened. As I was estranged, my daughter had walked away from our family, and while her life spiraled, so did mine. So we had two individual paths going down destruction, different but same, right? Still leading to destruction. And I always say I found myself in this pit that I couldn't get myself out of. And while I was doing that, she was doing her thing. And thankfully, like, spoiler alert, thank God she's back. She's back with our family. She's healthy. She's whole. She's good. And our family is reunited. And I know that's takes some time. It was about 10 years from start to finish for our family.
Mm.
So hopefully, I know it doesn't always take that long for every family, thank goodness. But you never lose hope. You just can't lose hope because there's always that piece.
Was there a specific event that happened? And when you work with your clients, is there usually a specific event that happens, or is it something that builds over time? Like, I guess let's start in your case first. If there was something specific that all of a sudden kind of split the relationship.
Yeah, well, she was 14 when it all started. So it was teenage stuff, hanging out with the wrong crowd, dabbling with some drugs, that kind of stuff. But really, overall, for her and for all kids, really, it has more to do with what's going on in here than it does necessarily what the mom or dad is doing. Now, granted, there's some situations where that's not the case, and those are isolated incidents. If there's abuse or something like that, that's a totally different story. But for the majority of families, it really has more to do with, honestly, a lot of it. And I knew a little bits of it back then, but as the years have gone by, I've learned more, obviously. And she actually just spoke at my retreat I had here in Florida a couple weeks ago. She did a Q&A with the moms for the first time. So that was awesome. And it's one of those things that you just realize, part of it is the self-worth aspect. She thought that we would be better off without her. There's a hole in her heart about her biological dad had signed off his rights to my girls, and my husband adopted them. It all happened in the same day because you had just how the court system works in Wisconsin. But and even though they love their dad, that's still a hole.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a hole in their heart, and I see this all the time. So I'm not saying that's the whole thing, but that's usually the start of it for a lot of kids.
Yeah. I think about it often, actually. I think about like what happens, like what would happen in our relationship, and I think about this with all of my kids, that they would take a step back. And fortunately, I have not experienced that. But I'm sure it's something every parent thinks about, right? Am I pushing too hard? Am I like, who are the people they're hanging out with?
Mm-hmm.
Like these ideas all the time of like, could something happen at any moment? And obviously, I try not to be like the doomsday person, but it definitely has crossed my mind.
Yeah, as we've chatted too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's you don't want to live in fear over it, obviously. And there's so many times, the moms that come to me who, now I just work with moms of adult children currently. So
Mm-hmm.
these are not teenagers where I'm giving them advice to do certain things. Because when they're a teenager, there's a million things you got to try. Like I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I did. I checked all the boxes. Um, and not all those boxes were good routes, which led to more issues. So, but for like how you're saying, Simone, a lot of parents, first of all, you've done such a great job with your kids as far as communication, how we've talked about that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really around navigating that they're their own person, that they're an adult. Yes, they're going to have their own struggles. And one of the biggest questions that I always ask moms, especially if it's a real fresh break where it's like, oh my gosh, my daughter or my son wants to take a 6-month break or a pause or the lingo that they use now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times that is really that they're in pain over things and they want to take a step back. And if they have the maturity level, it'll be a temporary pause. Like it'll be a temporary break where they can just like, if they're doing therapy or coaching or just working on themselves, and then they come back together and tell mom what they really need. That's best case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of times, bad therapy, social media, TikTok, hashtag toxic parenting, all of these
Yeah.
things are
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
feeding it. It's feeding it.
I am a frequent Redditor. I love reading the stories, and I think a lot of it, the advice in all of those comments is just always, especially if it's about a marriage, divorce them. If it's about a toxic parent, cut them off. You don't need them. And a lot of the times, the stories, they haven't even attempted the communication. Do you understand why I'm upset? And can you understand how your words have affected me?
Mm-hmm.
And it just
Yeah.
seems like it's always the nuclear option, especially on social media.
Yeah. Agree. That's interesting. You've seen some of that too, Olivia. And you're right. And a lot of times, moms parent and operate out of their own pain, whether it's from their own childhood, divorce, whatever it is. But that's our responsibility as moms to navigate whatever that is, get the help we need so that we don't push that onto our kids. Sometimes we've already done that. And if that's the case, we just have to kind of back up, get the help and do the work that we need to do for ourselves so that the kids can see the change. Because like you said, the kids will say they haven't even had the conversation. You don't even know what's hurting me. You're automatically, just assuming that you're right because you're mom.
Mm-hmm.
I see that a lot too. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, definitely.
No, keep going. Sorry.
There's the two different types of moms. There's the ones that are playing victim and are stuck in the victim mode. Now, granted, we all can play victim at times.
Yes.
Yes.
For sure. But if we stay there, we can't expect these kids to come back. The moms that I serve are the moms that want help, obviously, or they wouldn't hire me. But those are the moms that I get to see these reconciliations with, because when given the opportunity to show their kids that, hey, I am taking care of myself. I see where I went wrong. I see the little golden nuggets that you told me. Like I wasn't listening, or I didn't hear you, or I always interrupted you, or I told you how to live your life. Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I also think, from my perspective, I see it a lot of times with my friends, especially now that I'm in my 20s. I like a relationship does a little bit go both ways. And you have to remember that your parents are also human and it's their first time on earth and they're going to make mistakes. And obviously part of it is them owning up for their mistakes, but it's also being able to like recognize and let go and be like, they were acting out of their own past trauma, their own past bias, and they're able to recognize that and we can move on as a family.
I love it. I love that you see that. I'll tell that to my granddaughter who's almost 13. And so now
That's a
so I'll hear
tough
my older
age.
daughter say, this is my first time too. This is my first time being a mom. And I'm a person too. And I do need to, she needs to have date night. She needs to do things with her friends.
Yeah.
She needs to be more well-rounded, where most of us were like mom mode, 100%.
Yes.
We know nothing else. And then they leave and we're like, now what? Who am I?
I actually think that was my big turning point with my relationship with you, Mom, was I was really angry at first when you started working so much and traveling so much for work. But then I was like, I had to take a step back and be like, this is good for her too. And like, I can't just hold this anger in me because she needs to figure out who she is as well. And I should be supportive of this journey.
Well, thank you for that. I want to take a step back. Yeah, I know. She always has wisdom. I wanted to take a step back to kind of that idea of what we've gone through in the past and how a lot of times we transfer that to our children and how we can be more aware of that. Because I know for me, some of the things that I've said to myself about myself has definitely negatively impacted my kids, right? A lot of times we don't realize, how much they listen to everything we say, but also not that they actually follow it, but they do follow what we do. So how we model things, I think, is so important. And if we're constantly fighting, if we're constantly tearing ourselves down, it definitely has a toll on them. But I think a lot of times we don't see it because we're right in the thick of it.
Absolutely. And that's speaking to the moms also who, are not estranged from their kids, but they're still navigating motherhood. Like they still have teens. That's great wisdom too for them, because to really just take a closer look. And like you said, the ears are always there. They won't listen when you tell them to clean their room, but they're hearing everything else.
Yes. Yeah, it's so true. So when you work with moms, obviously the ultimate goal is reconciliation, but sometimes that isn't happening in the near future. Is that really the only definition of success for them? Or do you work with them in ways to say, you know what, here's where we are right now, and this is how we're going to move forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For most of those moms, the end goal is obviously that. How long that transformation is going to take, I don't know. I don't have control over that. Mm-hmm. But one of the moms in my coaching group one time said, we don't, my daughter hasn't come back yet. I can't say that my daughter has changed, but I've changed. And it's like doing the work on yourself and preparing for that day, not as in that's all I'm living for or that's the only anticipation I have, but it's like the question I always ask them is like, who do you want to become when they come back? Who do you want to become? Because for me, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago at the retreat with my daughter, is she told me, not so much in the moment, at least not that I remember, but later she's like, you were so needy. And I was like, I was? And now I'm like, I was because I was trying to be mom. I was trying to be dad. I was trying to be God. I was trying to fill every single role for them. So I could I didn't want them to have struggles like I did. And that's what moms do. We always want our kids to have better than we did. And sometimes to a fault.
Yeah. Definitely I am a recovering fixer. Like I want to fix everything. I think you're always recovering when you do something that is unintentional, right? But I definitely, when the kids were little, I would do every single thing for them, and that didn't benefit anybody. And now I'm like, do it yourself. Do it yourself. I was like, I should have started that transition a little bit earlier.
Yes.
But I don't ever think I was a helicopter mom. I love how there's all these definitions and titles, like bad titles, for what, Dragon Mom, Helicopter Mom, all these kinds of things, where I'm a mom, right? I care, and I'm gonna mess up because I'm human. And
Right.
okay, yes, I've done it 6 times. I've messed up something different with each kid, and many times. I mean, that's just how life goes. And I think it's probably good for them to see. I mean, I look at my oldest, like the 2 oldest, and now the stuff that I did back then compared to what I don't do now.
Good.
Jacob like was doing multiplication in kindergarten because it had to be, and now we're like, can you do 2 plus 2? That's fantastic. That's great. Right. Like, and it's not like
I'm a calculator your whole life anyway.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not like about lowering the bar. It's just like you realize over time what's important, and what's important is what it's the relationship and what the child wants, and and not focusing on what they're not good at, focusing on how you can help them.
Right.
I think a good example of that, I was on the phone with Dad yesterday talking about Jacob, my older brother's college like acceptance stuff, and he was talking about how he like essentially forced Jacob to apply to MIT. Even though he had no interest, didn't want to do it at all. Jacob sabotaged the interview for it.
Yes,
and he was talking about with Millie this time around. He's like, you know what? Like, obviously, I would prefer if she went wherever, but yeah, she's gonna figure it out by herself. She's gonna find where she goes. And I was like, that's growth, because you can't force your kid to go to a school they don't want to. You can't force them to major in something they don't want to, or else they'll just resent you.
Yeah, and I work with moms that have done that. Whether it be the type of job, the college, the boyfriend or girlfriend, like I've seen all of it. And you're exact. There's wisdom there too, Olivia, because we can guide you, but we can't do it for you, and we shouldn't do it for you, right? Going back to the whole like the types of parenting, I'll never forget. My daughter was probably about 16. We had already sent her to this boarding school, which was one of the biggest mistakes that I personally made. A lot of things happened there. And I met this woman, I can't even remember, but I hired her to coach me. And I was thinking, my daughter's 16. Where were you like 10 years ago? Right? I had no idea this stuff was out there. And it's about whether you're a helicopter parent, a consultant parent, or a drill sergeant. It's very good information though, and I would strongly recommend that to anyone. And I can't remember I'd have to give you the resource, but it's been a while. But I always love that. And it's like the goal is to be the consultant.
Yeah.
Always. Right? And I was the other two. I was the drill sergeant in the helicopter. So
I don't know. What do you think I am? I think now I'm definitely a consultant.
Yeah.
Was I a combo deal before?
I mean, growing up for academics, you and Dad were pretty helicoptery up until honestly like 5th grade, when I had like the breakdown about it and I was like, I can't do gifted school, like this is ridiculous. And then you guys were like chill after that. But I will say Dad's mindset after that has always been, as long as you know the material, I don't care about the grade.
Yeah.
Or like if you studied, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's about the learning. And I don't even know anybody's grades anymore, right? I mean, I'm like, oh, Noah's got a C in this right now. Okay, great. Like, hopefully it doesn't go down to an F. Yeah, I mean, definitely you change over time. My new book, Real Confidence, A Simple Guide to Go from Unsure to Unshakable, will be coming out on February 17th, and it's available for pre-order now. So if you'll go to realconfidencebook.com, you can order it from your favorite online retailer. And there's lots of bonuses that will come with a pre-order. So when you go there, you can see everything that you're going to get with it. You just have to put in your order number, and the bonuses will be delivered to your inbox.
You better buy my mom's book.
Because it's amazing?
Because it's amazing.
Yeah. I love you too. So, when I think about estrangement, I know there has to be, a deep sense of guilt, shame, whatever it does. What are some of the misconceptions or myths that keep moms stuck in this pain?
Yeah, the guilt and the shame and rehashing the entire childhood and putting all the blame on yourself that I must have done something wrong. Like, we've all done something wrong. I'm sorry, we're human. You're not,
Yeah.
anyone who says they're a perfect parent, they're lying because there's no such thing. Even
Yes.
Dr. Phil
Agreed.
says, Dr. Phil says, I'll never forget when I heard this. He's like, all families are dysfunctional. They have people in them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
just fact. And so,
Yeah.
but a lot of moms will spend years hashing and rehashing different situations, things that were said, and we can only go back so far in our mind to actually recall actual conversations. So we start making stuff up.
Mm.
And that's what they do. And so really teaching them to control their thoughts and who are they listening to, right? Whose voice are they listening to? Because there's a lot of lies and they get stuck on those, and they're easier to accept than maybe the fact that, wow, maybe this had nothing to do with me. With my daughter, again, not that I was a perfect parent, but what the journey that she ended up down was not my fault. She even
Yeah.
told me that. And trust me, I had to ask just to be sure. So it was like, yeah, she resented me for the boarding school. She resented me, but I've asked for forgiveness for that, because that right there was the one thing that, even without knowing how she felt, I felt like I needed to apologize to her for that. But I did the best that I could at the time. And that's what every mom does all the time. With the tools that you have, the people that you have in your circle, like, we do the best we can. Not too many moms are doing things out of spite or whatever. And those aren't the moms that come to me anyway. So I'm sure they're out there. But
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Liv and I talk about this frequently, that we don't believe people when they say there's two things. One, that you've never pooped your pants, or two, that your family is normal. Because I have not met one family that doesn't struggle with something. And I think it's a really good reminder for us, because a lot of times we feel like we're the only one, like we've done something wrong. We created this situation, and everybody else has the perfect family, right? When you start seeing people in the wild, you realize that everybody struggles with something, and to stop being so hard on yourself for it, because, it's that social media thing where everybody looks great, right? Everybody's got the perfect relationship with their family. All their kids smile for every photo, right? And that's not true.
the highlight reel. Highlight reel, and that can really mess people up too. And I talk a lot about that with my moms, just to make sure that they're not doing that. To follow the people that are going to give you confidence, that are going to give you inspiration, that are going to lift you up. If looking at somebody's feed brings you down, like, unfollow them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These people, most of them are strangers anyway. Come on, right?
Yeah. Why are we looking at strangers to affect our worth, right? To look, say, oh, wow, I'm not valuable because they are. I mean, what?
Yeah, I think social media, it's so scary. I think, especially those like family blogger channels, you see like this picture perfect family. And I remember like a couple of years ago, one story broke out that it was like horrible abuse inside the house. But, on the outside, you would have never seen that, because everyone looked so, functional, I guess is the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're dysfunctional in our own way, right? I mean, we always have some kind of family vacation meltdown. There's stuff that happens all the time, but I think we're okay with it. Like, if everything was just happy, that's not real.
But it wasn't always we were okay with it. It took a bit, I would say, to get to the point where we were all okay with being dysfunctional. Not especially Dad, but his words I kind of always ring in my head of just like, why can't we guys like pretend to be normal? It's like, because we're not. Like there's 6 of us. Like if we walked in a room, most people wouldn't even assume that we were all related. So, we're different, and that's totally fine. I mean, I love my dad, but he's a little different too, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
The good news is he doesn't listen to our episodes anymore, so we can start talking.
Yeah.
About
Okay. I was like, I didn't know if that was allowed again. We got put in a band for a little bit.
Yeah.
Be nice to Dad.
When we first started, we would bring him up, just like the funny things he would do. And he's like, okay, can we just not pick on Rob on this episode? So then we made a commitment that we weren't going to do that anymore. But he hasn't been listening. So, hey,
That's on him.
We can put him back in the mix.
Expired.
Yes. You have to be a listener for us not to talk about you.
No, but like overall, like yesterday in the car, I was talking to my dad while Jack and I, my boyfriend, we were going to the grocery store. And literally after I hung up, the first thing I said was, I love my family.
Aww.
But it's because I love the crazy of it all. Like I couldn't imagine going to a dinner table and everyone getting along. But I love that aspect of it.
What usually happens is somebody calls somebody out on something, right? And then it turns into like a big to-do and you're like, how did we even get here?
No, I don't know. But it's always interesting. And it's real. I think it's taught me more communication skills than I would have gained otherwise.
I love that. And just to piggyback off of that too, Olivia, I love that you were able to say that to your boyfriend. Obviously, he's a really great guy. Because what I see a lot is adult kids, and not always. It's usually typically more sons than daughters, but not always. They'll get in a relationship with someone, and then this boyfriend girlfriend is more of a toxic individual who's trying to break up the family unit. And like as soon as you said that, I was like, good for you. Because if for whatever reason, your boyfriend was like, yeah, but I don't really like you'd be like,
no, that's not okay.
Happening.
My family has always come first. And like that's the thing with my friends too. I've always said like I'm able to pick on my siblings and talk about them when they bother me, but you're not allowed to because those are my siblings.
You got it.
I think also when it's come to relationships, so it's very interesting because our family really hasn't had many relationships in terms of our kids and boyfriends or girlfriends. So basically Jacob is married and she's fantastic. Olivia's boyfriend is great as well. And, the other ones really haven't dated. So we haven't had that exposure. But my thought process is that when they start dating someone, if they really like them, we need to like them too. We need to jump in the mix and make sure they feel part of the family. So it's not like this isolated thing. And that's worked really well. I mean, I went to one event in Nashville and Liv wasn't even in town and I stayed at her apartment with her boyfriend. He's like, it'd be really weird if you go stay at a hotel just because it's just me here. I was like, you're right. It's like, visiting my kids. So why not?
Exactly. Yeah. Those relationships can get tricky sometimes. And that ends up, and then if there's grandkids involved, the moms that I serve, they're losing their adult child, but then they're losing their grandchildren too. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's very difficult.
Yeah. It's one of the things that we talked about with, the kids have asked me what kind of grandmother I'm going to be. So Jacob and Abby, probably in the next couple of years, they'll start having kids and they're going to have two. So start and then finish.
Okay. They have a plan. Good for them.
They have a plan for everything.
We're so opposite.
Yeah, I know. They're very well planned. But that idea of how my parents were as grandparents and how Rob's parents were as grandparents, I had a really hard time, especially with Rob's parents, because I felt constantly disrespected. Like there were certain things that we had with the kids, like, okay, Noah being on the autism spectrum, he did not like eating food, but he would eat 15 million cookies. So she would just give him cookies all day long when he was there. And I understand they're the grandparents, but still at some point, you got to have like a respect for each other so that you understand you have to do what's best for the kiddo. And I always felt like that did not happen. And didn't matter what I said. Even one time, do you remember the story, Liv? One time at dinner, so he wouldn't eat. And so I said to her, he's going to eat when he gets home. So he can't have just a whole slew of cookies right now. And we were cleaning up and all of a sudden he's gone, she's gone. They're literally in the bedroom in the dark. He's in her lap and she's feeding him cookies in the dark. And I was like, okay, we're out. Thank you so much for dinner. And I was fuming because I thought that's just a stab, right? And there is such an easier way. So the whole reason I'm telling the story is that that is not the grandparent I'm going to be. Like if they ask me certain things, then that's what I'm going to do, because
Yeah.
I don't want to risk that relationship, and I want to support them the best way I know how, which is, let them figure it out. Like they're
Right.
the new parents. I don't need to parent their child. I need to just be there and help.
Right.
But I guess my
Exactly.
question for you, Sally, is how do you find that line of, you know, I don't want to disrespect my kids and what they're doing, but I also understand what they're doing is really harmful.
Mm. Well, and for some of the moms, it is harmful, and some of it is just some of the moms that I serve are literally they have very functioning. These kids have great careers, families, but there's this division between mom and dad. And so when it is the other side where it's not, I'll start there, when it's not necessarily harmful, some of the things is you really need to take a look at whether they are trying to control, because mom's kind of like grandma.
Yeah.
Safe to say grandma's name, grandma.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Grandma, right? So that is huge. That right there is a disrespect, and that could tear it exactly how you felt, right? So there's that. There's also like sticking their nose in too far, as far as, well, why are you doing this, or why aren't you doing that, or giving advice. You know what, mom, we're parenting different than you did.
Mm-hmm.
You may not like everything we do, but like you said, Simone, this is your job, not mine. I have two granddaughters that live locally, so I get to see them all the time. And I'm actually the grandma that's like, okay, we're gonna have like, I'm hungry. It's like, oh, I have apples. Like I feed them. Like I'm the opposite of the typical grandma with the cookies. I'm totally opposite of that, which is probably kind of weird, but that's just who I am. And so, but they love it. They love it. So it works. It works. And my daughter just laughs, and it's
Yeah.
fine. But if
Yeah.
that would have, like, anything that would bother my daughter, I would stop doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So as far as navigating kids who find themselves are in danger or walking down a bad path, especially for, let's speak to the moms who maybe they're a teenager still, the prevention aspect, which is something I want to get into as well at some point, because it's so crucial. It's like, if I could just rewind and do some things differently, do I know for sure that the path would have been different? No, but I probably would have taken a different path. But a lot of it is making sure that you're listening to them, because these golden nuggets I mentioned. So fast forward into adulthood, these kids are coming back and saying, Mom, you never hear what I say. Mom, I've asked you to stop that. And it goes in one ear and out the other, because it's just like, once or twice. But then when moms look back, they're like, wow, for 10 years they've been telling me this. And then the
Mm.
kids just get to the point where they're like, you don't listen. Some are willing to go to therapy. Some will do some mediation, with mom, but not all.
Mm-hmm.
Not all, and not all are a good fit for that either, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about prevention. Let's talk about signs that you see and what moms can do when they feel that they're growing apart from their child.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is anytime there's an elephant in the room, like there's the top, whether it like at the dinner table or just maybe they're taking a bad path, and we want to, every time we interact with them, we want to be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you
Mm-hmm.
hanging out with these kids? Asking them all these questions. What if you just spent time with them and didn't even talk about that stuff? They're still living in
Mm.
your home. What if you took them to lunch, went for a walk? My daughter actually gave this advice a couple weeks ago, which I loved, and I had heard this before. It makes total sense. Is when you go, and you're going to spend time with your child that you haven't seen in a while, or you're having a rough patch with, don't expect them to sit down across the table from you,
Mm-hmm.
because there's that eye contact constantly, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's go for a walk. Let's go do something that you enjoy doing together. Like, go, whatever, hiking, whatever it is. And so I think that's crucial. So really just trying to listen and seek to understand, because most people just like to talk. They don't really
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
waiting to see what is their next reply going to be. So they really couldn't tell you what you just said. And we do that with our own kids all the time.
Oh, yeah. I actually said yesterday, uh, Emma, who Olivia's older sister, she lives in Wales. And I said today I'm going to set out time to talk to her for 30 minutes without doing anything else, because every time she's been calling, it's like right in the middle. I'm working on the book, and I'm working on this, and I feel horrible because I'm like, I know I'm not giving you the attention that you need. But I have to get this done. So today I was like, I'm going to call her and put everything away and just say, okay, tell me everything. What'd you eat for breakfast? Because she loves to go through all the different things, and just be completely present, because I know I've been doing a bad job at it. And I don't want her to think that I don't care. It's just, I have 16 deadlines and I have to get those done, but not at the, whatever the word is, I want to make sure, not at the expense of our relationship.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. Yeah. So that's
true.
on today's schedule.
Simone's to do.
Yeah. Oh
Simone's
my gosh.
to do.
It's never ending.
That I love that you're going to do that, because I think a lot of times they just want to be heard, especially, yes, in prevention, but even if you're already estranged, like I said, and you come back together, I always tell moms, if you're looking at, these are two adult women, you've got mom, you've got adult child or daughter, son or daughter. They're two hopefully mature individuals. You guys have been on this cycle of whatever it is. Somebody's got to go first. And I think that should be us, because we're mom. That's our job. We can't just sit there and be mad until they go first, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So just go first.
That's great advice. Yeah.
Listen, I still do this with my kids now. And it's funny because I'll get different answers depending on the kid. Like they'll call and they'll start to say something and I'll be like, wait a minute, do you want me to just listen? Or did you want some advice? One will be like, duh, of course I want advice. The other one's like, no, just listen. Okay. Like that's what that person needs. So you get to do that times 7.
Yeah, I think that's great, actually. I think that is really important because, again, as a recovering fixer, I want to give the advice, but sometimes they just want to vent and say, "Oh my gosh, this is what happened today." Be like, "Okay, great. I'm here for you," right? And that's it. Instead of being like, "Oh, well, if you would have done this, or you should try this." Yeah, half the time they don't want that. They just want to, and I do the same thing. Like when I'm really frustrated with something, I just want to like get it out. I don't necessarily want someone to say, "Well, if I were you, this is what I would do." No, I don't want that. I just want to tell you and move on, right? I got to get it off my chest.
Same in marriage.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I did. So the other day I actually told this story on my Monday morning mindset, but I came out of the bedroom the other morning and there's literally a piece of paper with a clear plastic container on top of it and vitamins on top. So I was like, okay, obviously someone caught something. So it's this roach. Okay. And so they didn't want to kill it. And my instant thought went to my husband. And okay, I picked up the thing. The roach got out. It climbed up my sleeve, down my shirt. I was jumping up and down screaming. It was pretty bad. But I blamed Rob. And so I text him. I said, oh, this is like, I guess you're getting back at me for something. He's like, you're crazy. What? When would I ever do that? And I was like, oh, you're right. You're right. It was my daughter. It was Millie. She was like, I didn't want to kill it. But it was instantly, I was like, oh yeah, that was you. And he was like, Simone, I would never do something like that to you. And then I had to say, you know what? You're right. I am so sorry. And he actually sent the text that I sent to him to Olivia. And she's like, ooh, Mom, what is wrong with you?
Like it was just mean for no reason.
So words matter. Words matter. And, take that pause before you do something. But, I was so traumatized by the roach crawling all over me that I didn't take the pause and had to blame somebody.
And you're still here today to do this. I'm so impressed because I don't know if I would be.
I survived the roach. Okay, so let's talk about your group coaching. Let's talk about how your programs work and like what are some of the biggest aha moments probably that you've seen with some of your clients?
Well, as far as groups specifically, so I do group coaching. We meet twice a week. It's an opportunity for moms. I do discovery calls first because I want to keep it a very safe environment. And I had a mom just the other night hop on, and at the end I said, I hope you enjoyed your first meeting. And she's like, I'm just so shocked. Everybody's so nice. Because
Oh,
when you're going through this most difficult time in your life, it's like you feel judgment everywhere. And so you're hesitant, like, is this a safe place,
yeah.
And it's totally a safe place. I vet people quite well, because it's the only way to do it for group, right? So it's an opportunity for moms to work on themselves, right? In a group setting, I can't dive into the same way I can in one-on-one with past history and all that kind of stuff, but it still gives me an opportunity to learn. They get to hear other people's situations as well. I bring a topic to each meeting, and they get to, I teach for a little bit, and then I open it up, and it's very structured. Everybody stays on mute. That's people's usually biggest question, like, is it chaotic?
Yeah.
My group is not, but I've been in groups that are, so I get it. I
Yeah.
get the question, fair question. But it's just a safe place for them to be able to know that they're not alone, and that prevents them from needing to constantly go to their husband or their best friend or their other children, because we need to talk about this. We need to
Yeah.
have a safe space to talk about it, and it's really difficult. And it almost broke up my marriage. It definitely strained the relationship with my other daughter at times, where she looked at me one time and said, am I not enough? Like, all you do is focus on the one
Wow.
that's not here. And she was right. She was totally right that I didn't know how to not focus on what was missing, because I wasn't working on me. So during that time, I had become an alcoholic, and I had gained 70 pounds. I was just super unhealthy, not only in body, but my mind. I was just focusing on the negative. I was fearful. I was just all of that. And it wasn't until I started working on me that everything started shifting. And that's what we do in group and one-on-one, right? One-on-one obviously gives me ability to like dive in more, but even in group, it can be so helpful, because just for them to know that, all right, we've got a plan, and I'm not alone, because that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that self-care piece, like working on yourself, I think is so important with all of the things that we do, and especially when we're in a situation where we're really struggling, because that's the biggest time where we say, oh, we don't matter and we don't need to take care of ourselves. But it's actually the opposite. That's exactly when you really do. I mean, we need to do it all the time, but
Right? Because when we're trying to numb our pain, what I realized is I was numbing my pain, but I was also numbing joy, because you don't get to choose. Like, it all numbs.
right. Yeah.
So that did not serve me, and I see it in a lot of moms too.
So how does confidence play a role in this? And what does confidence mean to you?
I thought about that question, and I feel like confidence can set the stage for everything else. Because without that, I mean, confidence sets the stage for strength, determination, and the transformation, right? So, like, for example, if some people who want to transform just themselves, they want to lose weight or whatever it is, confidence is usually lacking.
Right.
We all can let ourselves go sometimes, but when people let themselves go to the point like I did, there was no confidence, there was no self-esteem, there was no self-worth, there was nothing. And then it's really hard to dig yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that during these hard times, people don't know how to do it, which is why they need coaching, therapy, whatever they're going to do. But confidence, I mean, it just sets the stage for everything.
Yeah, I agree. Liv, your question.
What's the best advice a woman in your life has ever given you?
One of the best pieces of advice was during the beginning of my daughter's journey, where she was still a teenager, still living at home, out of control. I didn't know what to do with her. This woman at our church, she had gone through some ups and downs with her daughter prior. And she told me, she said, look at your daughter as your best friend's daughter. Someone you love, but it takes the emotion out of it.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I think that
I've never forgotten that.
yeah, uh, that's such an interesting way to think about it, because a lot of times that we let our emotions get in the way of everything instead of trying to be a little bit more practical about stuff, and
Right.
that outsider view I think is always really important.
Mm-hmm. And our kids don't want us to be our kids don't want us to be so emotional about everything, because then we're making it about us. And I hate to say it, but a lot of kids nowadays are pretty entitled, and they're selfish. There's a lot of selfishness going on. For some of them, it's because they literally didn't feel heard. But for some of them, it's just selfishness, right? Mm-hmm. They don't all stay that way. That's the beauty of what I see.
Yeah.
The relationship with mom and dad, but the relationship with mom is so unique. And the kids that, I actually have someone close to me who has walked away from her mom. And she had asked me to help her write a letter. And I was like, this was a while ago. And I was like, oh, I'll help you. But there's one thing. And I didn't disagree with her needing to walk away for a bit, which some things that were going on. However, I said, whatever you do, you need to give your mom some hope at the end. Don't leave this open-ended. Tell her that you need to walk away for a bit, because it was pretty toxic, to be quite honest. But just don't leave it open-ended, because that is so destructive and cruel, to be honest. Because I see both sides, right? So that's difficult.
Yeah, very difficult. Okay, we are wrapping up. Liv, tell me your calendar for today.
The ultimate expression of love is loving another in the way they want it to be loved.
Well, that's a perfect one for this.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
Yeah. A lot of times it aligns. I was like 90% of the time it actually aligns with what we talk about. But yeah, I think that's such a great quote, because we think we know how to do things, right? We think we know everything about parenting. We think we know everything about raising a child, and sometimes we just don't, right? We're all learning as we go.
Right.
And so the loving part is important. Yeah. I try not to smother.
Mother.
The other day we were taking a photo. We were at Millie's homecoming, and they do like these photos ahead of time. And Ari had come home for the week, and he is not a big smiler in photographs, and he's definitely not a hugger. I mean, he'll hug, but he's not a hugger. And so one of the other kids' moms said, "Oh, I want to take you guys this picture." And so I grabbed him and I hugged him, and she's like, "Now you got to smile, Ari." So he was like laughing hysterically because I totally caught him off guard. So I did smother a little bit in that moment, but he survived. The good news is he survived.
And now he'll have a memory with the photo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So where can people find you?
Usually on YouTube is where most people find me. It's right under my name, Sally Harris. And my website is sally-harris.com.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being our guest today. It really took a ton away, and, makes you think about a lot of things. I think people have these preconceived notions about what estrangement means. And, it's different for every single person, and it makes you think a lot.
Yeah.
So, especially as a mom.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Her Unshakeable Confidence. Always remember, you are unshakable.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakeable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Simone Knego and at Olivia Knego. Till next time.